peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in the Political Command Center, miles away from Nairobi. Good morning, Wesonga in Nairobi.
Very good morning, Dr. Matsanga, to our viewers here in Kenya, Africa at large, and the globe. Good morning.
Good morning, Karanja from Nanyuki.
Good morning, Dr. Matanga.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the show, The People's Court. Now, yesterday, the government issued out guidelines to follow on how to conduct yourself during the meetings and during this time, how public meetings will be conducted, how hate speech will be curtailed. Is it time that the government put down its feet to make sure that these same things don't repeat? Because history has bitterness of repeating itself. Do you think the government regulations were very good, adequate enough? In one word, one sentence. Were they good? Very good? Fantastic? Excellent. Those 4 words. Karanja.
Yes. They are good and fine and kindly, especially this type of the political step is starting right.
Thank you. Wesonga.
Yes, on my side, Dr. Matsanga, I feel those are very excellent guidelines that will ensure that as much as we plan about 2022, we do not plunge the nation into a state of despondency and mayhem prematurely. So those are the guidelines that will be able to ensure that we have law and order. Remember, we are not a banana republic.
Indeed, you are not a banana republic. Thank you very much, Sean Wesonga. Thank you very much. Let's production bring the speech on the steps of Harambee House of the Secretary, Public Chief of all the public service, the head of the public service of the government, the Secretary to National Security Agency, the man who takes notes of the cabinet, the man who spells out what the government has and wants to do. Bring it on, production. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the 4th Estate. The National Security Advisory Committee held a meeting today, 7th October 2020, to consider the current political activities in the... sorry. I'll begin again. Nitoa hii. Yeah. Thank you very much, members of the 4th Estate. I can even hear my voice is better. The National Security Advisory Committee held a meeting today, the 7th of October 2020, to consider the current political activities in the country and their implications on national security. NSAC noted that the country is experiencing growing political tension that is creating division and pitching sections of politicians and their supporters against perceived opponents. This situation is increasingly polarizing the country along ethno-political lines and therefore undermining national cohesion, peace, and security, and derailing our transformative economic agenda. The unchecked utterances and political weaponization of public gathering continue to undermine the law and order within the country. This disregard of the law has triggered violent confrontations among different groups, thus threatening national security of the nation. In the recent past, the country has witnessed the following speeches and utterances that incite and cause hatred, resentment, and create tension within our social fabric. B. Utterances that fuel ethnic or group violence. C. Use of abusive, negative, and insulting language. D. Publication in media of pictures which could lead to ethnic, religious, or racial discrimination. The foregoing has created a situation of fear, despondency, and political uncertainty. It is in this context that NSAC has met to discuss the situation in the country with a view to maintaining peace and security and promoting the rule of law. In its deliberations, NSAC also observed the following situations. A. That the country is only now recovering from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has led to tragic loss of life, severe economic contraction, disruption of our way of life, pain and suffering in families, and loss of livelihoods. B. Some individuals are taking advantage of the vulnerabilities in our population occasioned by the socio-economic shocks of COVID-19. In pursuit of cheap publicity, these individuals, in attempt to further their selfish political agenda, are inciting the youth who are fearful of their future. They are attempting to radicalize the youth to the point where they have fought and in one tragic incident killed each other. Being fully seized of the foregoing and conscious of the freedoms and liberties enshrined in our Constitution and other laws of the Republic of Kenya, now therefore NSAC at its sitting today resolved to remind Kenyans of the existing legal obligations and sanctions and issued the following directives. 1. That all public meetings and public proceedings shall be held in strict compliance with the Sections 5 of the Public Order Act, Cap 56, Laws of Kenya. The convener or any person intending to hold a public meeting or a public procession shall A. Notify the officer commanding station, OCS, that is OCS, of such intent at least 3 days, but not more than 14 days before the proposed date of the public meeting or procession. B. Be present throughout the meeting or procession and shall assist the police in the maintenance of peace and order at the meeting or procession. Obey all orders given to him or her by the OCS or any police officer of or above the rank of inspector. At all times, bind themselves to be peaceful and non-violent, and shall keep to the designated places of public meetings or public processions. 2. That any person who so elects to attend or participate in a public meeting or a procession shall, pursuant to the law and in particular Section 5 of the Public Order Act, A. Exercise a high degree of civic duty and responsibility and not to be in possession of any weapon. At all times, B. At all times, bind themselves to the peaceful and non-violent, bid themselves to be peaceful and non-violent, and shall keep to the designated places of public meetings or public processions. C. Report to the relevant authority instances of hate speech, incitement to violence, ethnic contempt, or any other offense. D. Respect the freedom of expression of other people. E. Not abuse, exclude, demean, stereotype, or profile other people. F. Not propagate insurgency and socioeconomic hostility among and between Kenyans. G. Maintain strict observance of the law of the safety and well-being of everyone present. 3. That all persons who elect to address any public meeting and procession shall be bound by the legal penalties and obligations set out in Section 13 and Section 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, which provisions bar speeches, utterances, and messages that contain A. Offensive, abusive, insulting, misleading, confusing, obscene, or profane language. B. Inciting, threatening, or discriminatory language that may or is intended to expose an individual or group of individuals to violence, hatred, hostility, discrimination, or ridicule on the basis of ethnicity, tribe, race, color, religion, gender, disability, or otherwise. C. Attacks on personal rights that trigger discrimination on the basis of their ethnic background, economic status, race, religion, or association. 4. That all media outlets shall be held responsible for all the content that they publish and or broadcast pursuant to the Section 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, as read together with the guidelines for monitoring hate speech in the electronic media issued by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Accordingly, the media shall A. Not publish words intended to incite feelings of contempt, hatred, hostility, violence, or discrimination against any person or group or community on the basis of ethnicity or race. B. Desist from providing platform to hate mongers, inciters, and tribalists. C. Practice responsible and conflict-sensitive reporting. D. Endeavor to air programs that promote respect, national unity, and cohesion. 5. That all social media users shall be held individually liable for all content on their social media profile pursuant to the National Cohesion and Integration Act, as read together with the guidelines on prevention of dissemination of undesirable, bulk, and premium rate political messages and political social media content via electronic communication network. In that regard, every social media user shall ensure that A. All their content is written in a language that avoids a tone and ones that constitute hate speech, ethnic contempt, and incitement to violence, harassment, abuse, defamation, or intimidation. B. Before forwarding and or sharing any messages, authenticate and validate the source and truthfulness of their content so as to limit information that might spread rumors, mislead, or is not supported by any facts. C. Administrators of social media platforms are duly bound to moderate and control undesirable content and discussions that have been brought to their attention on their platforms. In this regard, NSAC hereby directs the relevant security organs to enforce these directives without fear or favor, to the offenders, regardless of their economic standing, ethnicity, religion, political association, or status. NSAC further urges all Kenyans to exercise restraint.
Thank you very much, viewers. Karanja in Nanyuki.
Yes.
With Daniel Wesonga in Nairobi.
Yes, very good morning, Dr. Matsanga.
Good morning, all of you. This is the People's Court. We have listened to the head of public services, all government institutions, police, army, everything. That is the man. Is the secretary to the National Security Council. What does the Constitution say about the National Security Council? It is the overall governing body that brings about, that assesses the impact of security, the developments, the welfare, the economic. It touches all facets of a human being. They are the eyes of our eyes. I've done a Swahili word there, which I want Wesonga to pronounce. I can't pronounce it. Karanja, you know how to pronounce it. Wesonga?
Yes, kikulacho kingoni mwako.
Yes, chikulacho ngioni mwako.
Kingoni mwako.
Swahili died near Malaba border. And therefore don't blame me. But I have I have a lot of things that I pick. It is like a Luganda. I'm not a Muganda. But I speak very fluent Luganda. I have all the proverbs of Buganda. I can write in Buganda, in Luganda. I know the letters of Buganda. Before Stanley, Huntington, Livingstone, Lugard arrived in that kingdom. My people of Luganda, near the shores of Lake Victoria, had their letters. I can write them. Like I can speak bit of Swahili, write a bit of Swahili, but I don't know some things. So, what kills the deputy president is within himself. That's all I can summarize for you, and we close the program and go home. Remember, I teach political science. I might be loafed around here in Nairobi and Africa. But back there, even in the churches on Sunday, the reverends of Canterbury, they call me to say, come and say a word. Because they see the wisdom in your mouth. When you have tea with them, I am an assistant elder of our parish church. It's a very high designation. Very high. Our church is St. Mary's Church, New Addington, in the New Addington village. Anybody who is in London knows what New Addington village is. An area where only ex-footballers, where they live. Honestly, the Ian Wright, all those, even the road to some of these places is already a toll road. You have to pay, they have to ask you where you are going. The tarmac is not the same as the tarmac down there. Chikulacho. Maliza Wesonga.
Yeah, kikulacho kinguoni mwako.
Kinguoni mwako.
Yes.
The theme of this today, Deputy President, you are killing yourself. Change direction. You can't create society. You can't divide society. You can't use dynasty, hustler narrative. You are killing yourself. Why I'm saying so? As assistant warden of the Church of St. Mary's Anglican Church, which was built in 1889. Can you believe it? How many Christians have perished? I am the assistant warden. Every Sunday, I catch the money from the rich. When they bring it, after the collection, the ushers, they bring it to us, myself and my white friend, Dr. Ashley. We all stand there in equality. Not because we are better people for Jesus Christ. Not because we don't know where Jesus Christ is going, where he went, how he went, but because we don't divide society. Why is a son of a man killed abruptly in the mountains of Elgon, standing in St. Mary's Church in New Addington, Anglican Church, built in 1889, standing along with Dr. Ashley, collecting the offerings, handing them to Dr. Richardson Mackley, the provost of our church, with all the vicar. Apparently this church has only PhD holders. The vicar, the provost. Why? There's no class. There's no class. I'm preaching here. Come and listen ye. There's no class struggle. There's a class struggle. That there's no class when it comes to church. Why should a man be respected in a place which served him and be given a task to even collect money from the rich? I'm not Robin Hood. Why should I be tasked to accompany Dr. Ashley to knock on people's doors in New Addington, in Croydon, in Sandstone, and talk to them? What is your problem? Not talking because we have the money. Not talking because I have the money. But look at me. I want those who want to create a class struggle in Kenya to think of a class struggle in London, in UK. Is there a class struggle? Are we not equal with the same people who live along with us, who come to church, pray in our church, give the offertory. We carry it. Look at me, where I started from. I don't use my background to fight other people. I don't use the background to engage the government in a bad way. I don't use my pitfalls to compensate my next steps. I don't cry about the shoes because I walked to school barefooted. Tomorrow, Uganda is celebrating 58 years of independence. Uganda's independence came when I knew. Uganda's independence arrived when I was seeing. I saw the flag of Uganda rise and shine again. It's here behind me. 58 years ago, I was available. I saw it. What about you who was born when independence had come? You want to be bigger than those who saw, who came, who stood, who walked, who went to prison, who were imprisoned, who worked hard. Listen to my sermon here. This is the sermon of reconciliation. The word reconciliation will heal us. President Uhuru Kenyatta said, reconcile, unity of purpose. I'm preaching here. You want compensation of politics. You want to bring a compensation or to create a status of a nation of inequality, yet a son of a poor man like me could also stand in a church that was built in 1889 and collect offertories. Is there any problem with that? But do I seek compensation of politics? Do I begrudge those who live across next to me on the hill of Salisbury, where golf is played from morning at 8 for breakfast up to evening for dinner? Am I making some sense with Soga and Karanja?
Yeah, true.
Am I making some sense?
Yeah.
Where the money from Ian Wright, the players of Arsenal, the players, the Queen is Palace next to the church behind is where the Queen used to come, the old Victoria, and those who are used to, when he's there, he comes to pray. The church was built specifically for the Queen. Do I begrudge those people? As you pray on Sunday, as they call upon you to make announcements for next Sunday, a man who rose from the slopes of Mount Elgon 64 years ago did not know I would stand in front of the people of St. Mary's Church in New Addington Anglican Church and speak, tell people that we shall be having tea party at Mrs. So-and-so in his compound, summer party. And those who have old clothes can dump them at the gate of Mr. So-and-so. Those who have a car to help can carry those clothes. Therefore, I want to bring it to your notice that today, Chikura, Wesonga, or Karanja, the theme.
Yes, Kikulacho Kingwoni Mwako.
I open the discussion for you. Chikulacho, what eats you is inside you.
Yes, and of course, Dr. Matsanga.
Go ahead.
Yes, and yes, of course, as Kenyans, we really have to ask ourselves about the genuinity of the Deputy President's narrative of Hustler versus Dynasty. You know, when he was narrating on how far President Daniel Arap Moi had brought him during the announcement of the demise of the former president, he said that it is Moi who gave him the first plot of land in Eldoret, where he was able, together with his friends, where they were able to sell, and from the proceeds of selling that plot, he was able to buy himself the very, very first car that he ever drove. Now, if William Ruto at that time as a campus student was so much privileged to enjoy such kind of favors from the dynasty and be able to drive a car at such a tender age, so the question is, how about so many millions of Kenyan youth at that particular time who could not afford such kind of connection to be close to the head of state to the extent that he can be able to give them a piece of land in Eldoret town, a very prime plot. Therefore, it begs for the question, for a man who has been benefiting from the dynasty to come and now claim that he's the pro-hustlers, the people who are the peasants of the country, it's really, really hypocritical. And also considering that since he left campus, the first political organization he joined was the YK92, for which the 500 shillings was printed in order to spearhead its activities in this country. And this is a group of young people who plundered millions of shillings in the public coffers. So therefore, we do not see genuinity in whatever William Ruto is doing. And yesterday, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga challenged him to tell Kenyans his role in the change movement, which was able to fight for multi-party democracy, the change movement, which was always fighting against the totalitarian rule of the former President Daniel Arap Moi. William Ruto has no history in fighting or advocating for the rights of the peasants that today forms the basis of his conversation. So to me, I think it is very, very hypocritical. And as Dr. Matsanga, you say, you cannot compensate for your pitfalls by the present state of affairs, or rather to use it to chart your own future. We all have come from a very, very diverse backgrounds. Some of us even never had shoes. When you look at the former president, Mwai Kibaki, he was a son of a peasant, and even very few Kenyans know about the father. The mother, it is rumored that he was raised by the mother. But even Kenyans have very, very little information about the mother. When you look at Jaramogi Odinga, he had no affluent family when he was beginning his political life. Look at Daniel Arap Moi, someone who was who became an orphan at a very, very tender age. He was schooled by the grace of the missionaries who are there in Baringo, and that is how they were able to scale up the ladder of leadership through hard work and competence. So it is very unfortunate for someone who has been an MP for over 2 terms, a minister for over 2 decades, and a deputy president for 80 years plus, to come and claim to be part of the peasantry. So that is my take, Dr. Matsanga, and I agree absolutely with your sentiments.
Chikulacho.
Kingwoni mwako.
Kingwoni
mwako.
Thank you very much. The theme of today, But let's read one from Robert Boeing. Robert Boeing is with us, a man from Bomet. He says, thank you for watching us from Bomet. My brother, thanks. He said, my heart, my brain, my soul long for calm, care, passion for Kenyans, especially youth folk. We need a leader who take this country and its elements serious. A leader who is not breaking news every single day for one absurd thing or another. God help our motherland, Kenya. Amen. Whoa! Karanja from Nanyuki.
Yes.
A leader who does not make, who doesn't make break lines.
Yeah.
Breaking news for wrong things.
Yeah.
Breaking news for wrong things.
Exactly.
Your comment.
Yeah.
Your comment.
And,
Your comment, Chikulacho. Sawa. Maliza, Baba. Maliza, bring it on. Bas, make your comment.
Yeah, and first of all, I want to support and to pray what the head of public council was yesterday, and that's the direction that the country should take to avoid going where you are but years ago. There are people, the same people who are saying today that they want to go to Kabila by God, while the same people who used to go around this country telling us that it's 41 against 1. That guy is too better. He was dividing Kenyans in the basis of their tribe, and at that time he was having an agenda of 41 against 1. Now today he has come up with another vision, and that this one is even worse because it's dividing Kenyans in the basis of their economic life, the basis of what they have and what they don't have. Therefore, this is a man who was driving Kenyans. In 2007 he was talking of Noah Padoa is Golden Ausha, and that today he is talking of a hustlers of the dynasty. Therefore, this is a man who has before his defense political career is a man who has right to vision. And as Wetonga was saying, he himself is dividing Kenya to the basis of what they have as ordinary and dynasty. He himself is a man who has amassed wealth in his political career. Yes, he is not the man who should be the front line leading that kind of a revolution of having hustlers to organize those things. I think if he really wants to hustle, if he really cares for the people who are downtrodden in this country, he should first of all have a team of hustlers as his advisors to carry out. He should determine how to teach the same hustlers outside where it goes to those last lifestyle of he should not be hanging out with these people. He's in a couple composed of people who have managed this country. His personal pictures, everybody that he goes around with, these are people who have money. Therefore, he has no regard for the people who have nothing in this country. He has no regard for the poor. He saw in his political career, he has never supported a kind of a hustler. He has never supported people who come from background. If he is doing politics, he supported boys, and the people he is doing is a dynasty. He supported Raila, he supported the Uhuru Kenyatta in 2002. The same person is calling a dynasty today. He supported Raila Molo in 2007. And the same person is calling a dynasty. In 2017, he supported President Uhuru Kenyatta, the man he is referring as a dynasty. Therefore, in his own political career, he has supported the same people today with insulting by calling them dynasty, but he has never supported a hustler. And if he really cares for the hustler, he should also be sent around, support a Mama for president, support a Buddha guy,
How are you? You have now forgotten us.
Therefore, that people can do value. This even job does not just give the children value, but it gives the children a attractive potential development. And I want also to tell these people, especially the best is the president, today you crucify the people who have money, forgetting that these children are children from a rich family, their dad is the president. We are supposed to tell them that if they are children, think of funds for political position in this country, it is not elected because they are part of the best of the president.
Okay.
I don't think that is what it is. It's just something that is given because it's not for the best for children. It is just for the children to be elected in political position. Why we see today critical people who are funds and who themselves have used the children as children of the best of the president. And as a country,
Wesonga, take over.
Yes, Dr. Matsanga. And of course, another quintessential thing I remember, the president once told the Kenyans that leadership is not tied to where you come from. Leadership is not where you are born. Leadership is not whichever family you come from. But leadership is tied on the capability for you to be able to deliver to the people of Kenya, the electorate that elect you. So to me, I find it quite funny that the deputy president has to use his family background to be able to lobby his ascendance into State House. So it's quite hypocritical. And just like any other political players, he has to tell Kenyans what he's going to do for them in terms of manifesto. He has to tell Kenyans the projects that he has so far done as an MP, a long-serving MP of Eldoret North, as a minister in the coalition government, and also for the 8 years he has been the deputy president of this republic. So I find it quite funny that someone who has been in government for all that time also still has the audacity to come and tell Kenyans that whatever narrative that he can only ride on is not based on the agenda or maybe the things that he has done for this country, but rather just reminding them that in Kenya we need to have two castes of hustler and dynasty. And Dr. Matsanga, when you divide people between these kind of classes, the dynasty versus the hustlers, it really sharply divides the nation, because on one side we have people who feel disfranchised, people who feel that they're disadvantaged against the other, when this is not reality. Yes.
Wesonga, Karanja,
yes.
Go now discuss with Karanja. Go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Matsanga. Yes,
lead the show with Karanja. This is technology. Go ahead.
All right, Dr. Matsanga. So I was saying it's very, very unfortunate that someone who has been in government for such a very, very long time has got nothing to sell to Kenyans other than a lazy narrative of hustler versus the dynasty. So my point is to remind the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya that Kenyans do not feed on a narrative. Kenyans feed on improved infrastructure. Kenyans feed on a growing economy. Kenyans feed on expanded employment. Kenyans feed on improved healthcare facilities in the country. And therefore, he cannot only be riding on telling people that, look here, the government has denied you this and this and that. And for you to be able to redeem yourselves and be able to benefit from leadership, is that the only route is for you to elect me as the president of this republic. And also, the deputy president, I wonder which kind of manifesto he will be able to launch, because remember in 2013, 2017, they launched a similar manifesto of Jubilee Party, which is being run today by himself and President Uhuru Kenyatta. So part of the big agenda that he would have done for Kenyans is already here in the manifesto. So whatever he wants to do, what is it that he wants to do in 2022 that he cannot help President Uhuru Kenyatta do it right now? Or rather, what is it that he has been unable to do for the 8 years that he has been the assistant of the president in governing the country? So that is my pertinent question to the deputy president and those who support him. So I don't know your perspective, Karanja, on the same matter.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Congress. First of all, I would like us ourselves to ask one question, because the deputy president has been his political career started in 1992. He should first of all come out clearly and tell his supporters what he has done when he was a member of parliament, what he achieved when he was the minister of Agriculture, what he reformed his dream in the Ministry of Higher Education when he was a minister. Then he must come out clear and tell us what he has achieved as the deputy president of this country, so that we can look at his conquest and understand that he's the kind of person who has transformed his constituency when he was a member of parliament. He brought changes and reformed the Ministry of Agriculture and the Higher Education, so that we see the kind of person who wants to best as the president. And I made clear that in the longer I know you are witness when he was a minister of agriculture, a lot of things happened, and it was not on the positive side, but on the negative side. And the big scandal that happened when he was the minister for agriculture, something that is effective even today as well today, because these are persons who have raised kind of all corruption allegations. His name always appears there. So what happened to Borrell and around town? Therefore, these are man who thinks that he went down to big game, and those people who think that William Ruto as the president is big game, there's nothing much you can expect, because for the last 28 years, his political career has been characterized with all manner of drama, all manner of events of corruption and all that kind of thing. Therefore, there's nothing much you can do on the table, because you can't go transformation or a progressive development-oriented agenda that you can associate with it. Therefore, it's a balance when we come out to do this alternative agenda. And the question that we should also ask ourselves, where was he? Or where was he before 2019 when he came out vibrant with alternative agenda? Or we did have alternative in this country prior to 2019 to 2020? Therefore, these are the questions that hold weight, and these are something that you must look into and have a clear way and analysis of it. And when you look at him right now, he is in the government that is opposing the government he is working for. He is the person leading the political campaign, and the one thing is that his political trade is associated with all of violence. And so other people are campaigning, so the governor of Majaku, Dr. Anthony Mukua, but his campaigns are not characterized with violence. And so Raila Odinga on Sunday, when he was coming from Majaku in Nairobi, and there was nobody right there. But when the deputy president went to Murang'a, when he went to Kitui, last year when should ask ourselves why only him and some other political players who are campaigning. The former Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, Mombasa, there was no violence. Therefore, this man should come out clear and the distance himself to all this man of things so that he can stand out as a person who really cares for this nation. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Karanja. And of course, whatever comes out clearly is as Deputy President William Ruto has really failed on working together with his boss to ensure that they deliver a very tangible legacy to the people of Kenya who elected them in 2013 and 2017. So all the donkey work has been left to the president, who has been moving around the country. We saw him the other week in Coast. The other day he was in Kisumu, and just on Wednesday, on Tuesday rather, he was with the NMS boss inspecting the 83 vehicles that had been revamped by the Nairobi Metropolitan Service to provide services for the people of the city. So I believe that as a deputy president, he shouldn't be much concerned about politicking, and especially if this clarion call is coming from president. You remember at the onset of the second term, President Uhuru Kenyatta was very categorical, telling politicians, especially those allied to the ruling Jubilee Party, not to participate in premature political campaigns. But what did we see from this call from the president? We saw allies of the deputy president castigating President Uhuru Kenyatta and going ahead to participate in harambes, going ahead in funerals to perpetuate divisive politics. So I think I'm so much in agreement with what you're saying, Karanja. And for Kenyans, they should be very keen about the kind of leaders that they elect going forward. And you saw yesterday PLO saying that Mwalimu Nyerere, Julius Nyerere, the first president of Tanzania, said that if you see someone so much determined to get into the State House, then other people, you should be worried of the intentions of this person to clinch power. And that is what is happening in Kenya. You saw yesterday the head of civil service with other members of the National Security Advisory Committee, stating categorically that anyone who seeks to hold a public political rally will need to get the go-ahead or seek the certification of the security apparatus for them to be able to be granted the permission to hold such a meeting. But whatever you saw today in Kibirigo is that the allies of the deputy presidents were proceeding on with a pre-planned rally, regardless of the measures that were given by the state yesterday. So I don't know what you feel about this, being that this is the deputy president of the same country. This is number two when it comes to the hierarchy of leadership of the country. How will the citizens of the country feel when the deputy president is acting in total disregard of the directives given by the same government that he is part of?
Thank you very much, Mr. And first of all, we should also understand one thing, that if you are in a situation, if you are in a family or in a relationship that is not working, then you can do. If you love your life and you care for your partner, you go out and understand something best. And if the president feels like for him that things are government, the government that has built, the government that does not work for Atlas, the government that does not empower its citizens, the best we can do is to resign and move out and start his own things, his own formation, waiting for 2022 election so that we can sell that agenda to the people of Kenya. But unfortunately, the hypocritical and the ideological at the same time that the deputy president of Kenya, who fights his own government, is still fighting hard in the same government, that he does not participate out there, winning his reputation and saying all manner of things, portraying it as a failed government, that he wants to make there. And we should ask ourselves, why does he want to make in the same government?
Songa.
This is a
Wesonga, Karanja, a minute, production, send notes to Wesonga the questions, and you continue to discuss. You are on the satellite live. So Wesonga moderate the show until 1 o'clock.
Yeah, yes, we shall just continue where
Karanja,
the topic of
Karanja was talking, so finish. But Stephen, send the notes, production team, send the notes to Wesonga to moderate the show. The satellite is working.
Yes, Karanja, you can just go on and make the finish up your point, and then we shall be able to take on another issue of the topic of the day.
Yeah, and I was moving on to asking a question. Why is the president who moved around portraying the government and the failed government and going around giving representation, fighting hands with the government? And the answer is very clear. If you want to make the government can continue using government, continue using taxpayers' money to continue using taxpayers' money for its own political campaign or other agenda. Therefore, it is not being hypocritical and that go out of the government that is everything and our Kenyans, and that is all the movement outside there without appreciating or without using the service of the people themselves. So they don't know that he is arrested of government to campaign using security apparatus that he did, but he has the confidence to go around there saying that the government of the day has said that is ironical and that is hypocritical and that is uncalled for a leader of that leader to go out there with that man of things. He has a mandate. He was mandated by being 6 million of Kenyans who elected as a pair. We have an agenda to accomplish that they promised Kenya during campaign. Therefore, he's a man who is over ambitious, and he's a man who feels like to him, presidency is an entitlement. Presidency is not in this country, and then feels like if not him, then it is William Samoei Ruto who wants to rule this country after President Uhuru Kenyatta, and I think that is a very bad mentality. And if he goes out there telling his people, and as you know in Kajiado, where his supporters that members of parliament from Tangatanga wing of this week, he went out there claiming that the Huduma number is being used to read election, and that these are very, very bad statements. This time, and this open and sign of the political pressures of right. Therefore, when you talk of a rigged election, and if you the same government, instead of wanting the president to ensure that you have a great election, it's just going there lamenting and pretending that like it's not the government. These are very, very big, bad things, and they are responsible, and these are the things that are prepared, and these are the right things for disaster and violence and protection. That is to say that he's preparing his supporters that if he will not win that election, then he have a big limit to the IEC, limit to the government of the day that they were in, and these are very bad things because it's not preparing voters for a shift, it's preparing them for a win, and this is something that is not right, is something that is really very, very bad, and it can bring a hell at the end of the day to the president.
So much, Karanja, and of course to our viewers, today we are just digesting and digressing about the address yesterday by the head of civil service, Joseph Kinyua, who addressed Kenyans on the country's state of security yesterday. He addressed his address follows concerns by Kenyans after the killing of 2 people in Kenol town, clashes between 2 rival Jubilee camps, where the deputy president had gone over on Sunday to steer a fundraiser in a church there in Murang'a. And of course, Ruto also distanced himself from the clashes and asked the police to hold account those behind the Murang'a violence. And Kinyua, in his address, directed that all public meetings should be held in compliance with the Public Order Act, which failing the culprits will be penalized. And also, Karanja, so when you saw the address, Kinyua, the head of civil service, said that politicians are inciting and trying to radicalize the youth. And this is something that we've been talking here. When you hear the deputy president talking about the hustler versus the dynasty narrative, for example, you know, these are some kind of telling young people that you have been neglected, and therefore you have to take on a particular class of individuals in society. So in other terms, he's not using the usual narratives which people have been incited along ethnic lines. But now he's trying a different thing, like what happened in Rwanda, where we had two classes of individuals, where we had two groups of Hutus versus Tutsis, and you know how it all ended up. So I think by all perspective, this is a very, very good measures that will ensure that politicians become accountable for their own acts, and they stand by whatever they send Kenyans into in terms of the message there when they're addressing the people, and also in terms of just a feeling of responsibility. So maybe I'll just want to know from you, Karanja, do you feel that it was really, really necessary for the deputy president to ignore these measures that were given yesterday and just proceed with the function that he had in Kibirigo back there in Nyamira?
Yeah, and then we present these measures and very well, and presenting is better than killing. Therefore, present these measures that were already yesterday by the head of public service for Nigeria are very, very nice, and they are very, they have come at the right place. They are very in sense that we know what happened in Muranga last Sunday, and I think because that system, every politician who go out there campaigning and doing all these kind of things, telling their agendas and all those things, it should be held accountable for any occurrence, for any violence, for any insult, for any kind of language that is used there in Kenya against each other. And if that was the case, the president of the Republic of Kenya and his team, especially the person who organized and who was the moderator of last Sunday event in Muranga, Kenya, Ali Tuahome, the head of parliament of Kandara, which is held responsible for the death and the chaos that happened there. Because it was not for their presence that occurrence would not have happened. Therefore, the government should take strict measures and should ensure that such occurrence will not happen again. Because we can't build prevent now and expect cure after a country that have burned out. Therefore, let's prevent it now because it's cheap and that is manageable at this level. And to avoid having a scenario like what happened to people present. Therefore, I support what he was saying, and that all Kenyans, not only politicians, but citizens of this country must exercise a sense of responsibility. We do not go there under the use of this nation, should not have left to be used by politicians for their own interests to a point where they are losing their life. Let us escape from this dirty politics and let's have an agenda, a politics of agendas and perspectives, where Kenyans will start discussing what a leader stands for and what he is doing for these measures, not start discussing how we decide in terms of what we have and what we don't have. And this is very important. As you know, in this nation, we need to be a symbiotic kind of a relationship where we rely on each other, we are human beings, and we rely on each other. Yes, when we start dividing on what we have in terms of our economic status and in terms of our social well-being, then that is very bad because we rely on each other. When we have something, we create an environment that a business and if you employ that person, you just don't have things. That is the kind of country that we want to do. That when we start dividing these things, people start rising against each other. And at the end of the day, we do not have a country called Kenya because we have gone out to a level that is not manageable. For this moment and time, the Public Order Act is read out
Yes.
and implemented so that we will take some level of responsibility. And not only on politicians, but what we put on social media. Therefore, that's social media is not another thing that is used to fight that is being Kenya to violence. What people need to say is language, and the people should be held responsible. Even the media houses, they should be held responsible. You know what happened to our France, June 7th. Those kind of things, people should start responsible for their deeds and for their acts. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Karanja. And of course, majority of Kenyans agree with us that unless the current situation of political temperature is contained, then we shall be drifting back to the ugly past of the that preceded the 2007-2008 post-election violence. And you've brought quite quintessential points in regards to how politicians should be able to help young people, and this is through enabling them to get something substantial, jobs, rather than giving them handouts and using them as a tool of propagating political hate and their own selfish agenda. And yesterday also, the head of civil service, Joseph Kinyua, said that the social media and the media at large will be responsible for all the content they publish that has hate speech. So Kinyua said that any person who uses their social media to spread hate or maybe to bring about ethnic tensions will be held individually liable for whatever they generate from their social media. Do you think that this will go a long way to cool down the simmering political temperature that we are experiencing at the moment?
And I think it's something that is being carried into our political arena, especially in this moment when temperatures are high. Because when these people interfere and the people start talking, what makes sense is the social media and broadcasting things that promote things that promote unity, things that promote peace. And I think even the broadcast, the larger media houses, and we should also refrain and think from reporting things that do division. I think politicians who use social media and the broadcast media to give an upper hand to their campaign trail, even negative words that are said in Kenya. It's not even there. They should go out there and do their own use of giving their message out there to the masses. And that the media should encourage and they should bring a sanity and a kind of environment where those things that matter to the person are the ones that are given the upper hand when it comes to reporting. The news that is report, they should also use that work to bring and to feel a nation that works in a nation that is unity, that brings unity, that promotes peace and keeps it consistent among Kenyans. It is not give prominence to news that they are fight, especially those things that fight Kenyans on the basis of their tribe, colors, and class. Those things should not be given a priority reporting on the social media. And I think when social media is a tool that is very powerful, news that is the media, because a bigger audience is a fraction of record. Therefore, when people start now being held responsible, so that when you post something that is very Kenyan, you be held responsible and you suffer consequences, people start training themselves from using social media as a tool of decision, but they start using social media with a responsibility, moderate, and they start to moderate on what they post, especially on matters like violence and such Kenya. I think that's something the Public Order Act should be more also together. They should start implementing it from yesterday going onwards so that people should liable for whatever is posted in the social media so that we can create a culture of responsibility, a culture of patriotism. Yeah, I think that is my take.
Yes, Yes, thank you so much, Karanja. And of course, the social media has become a very, very influential tool when it comes to political engagements and also social debates. And perhaps what our viewers should be reminded is that even the Arab Spring that happened across various Arab countries from Tunisia all the way to Syria was so much influenced by whatever social media users were propagating at that time, and therefore it has a very, very big impact on how we engage as a people, on how our politics are conducted and are concerned, and therefore there's a need for responsibility, as Karanja puts there, and of course the head of civil service was very categorical that if you have to use social media, then you have to use it responsibly. Otherwise, if you are found to be in contravention of the law in regards to inciting people of spreading hate and ethnic animosity, then you will be personally liable for the for whatever you post on your social media page. And I think that is a very progressive thought. It's a very progressive measure to ensure that we do not, as a country, go back to ethnic tensions that we've experienced every election year, keeping in mind that we only have 2 years to the general election of 2022. And also in Muranga, Karanja, it emerged that 2 young people lost their lives in the chaos that happened there in Kenol. But up to now, no one has been brought to justice. No one has been held responsible because you understand that the IG of police ordered investigation into the matter, and later on, Kandara MP Alice Wahome and Ndidi Nyoro rather were told to appear before the DCI officers in Nyeri to record a statement, but they have henceforth declined appearing before the the enforcement agency. So what do you think that tells the people of Kenya? You know, these are people who had come to that function courtesy of these members of parliament who are holding the deputy president, and here 2 lives have been lost. But the leaders are refusing not only to take responsibility, but also to record their account of events of whatever transpired on that Sunday morning.
Yeah, and there's more. When the life is lost, especially, and the knowledge is not for the politics, and that's something that all Kenyans should understand, that nobody should be rude because of the politics of the nation. Therefore, because when you look your life for politics and for politics of division, because what was taken there, Muranga was politics of division, politics of others. Therefore, it's unfortunate, and we do what?
Yes, that has been yes.
It's a very bad thing, and it should not happen again in the future. Nobody should ever lose his life because of politics. And I think the law enforcement should come out clear and start enforcing some of these rules. And you know what is happening in the area. And that let people be held responsible. Let people be told to go somewhere else. Because when police start enforcing these laws, some of these occurrences don't have happened in the past place. Therefore, the law enforcement, the investigative officers should come up with it and bring into books those people who are responsible for that kind of occurrences in Muranga, so that they serve as an example to others who want to engage on that kind of ability. And on your talk of another issue, and that is the LD of Kandara, Alice Wahome, counterpart from Halt. These are people who are requested by the IG of police to appear before the DCI in years, but they failed to do so. And this kind of politicians, they are portraying a very bad picture. When they start having this kind of against the law enforcement, because as a member of parliament, I think these are the people who are legislators. These are people who make rules for this nation. Therefore, these are the people who need to be the first to obey and to follow what the law says. And if they are asked to report to an office of law enforcement or an officer of the law, they without creating all this drama for the sake of sympathy and for the sake of public that so that it portray a picture of what is innocent. It's something that must be there, and the members of parliament, they should use as an example. They should be a mirror that reflects to the society. If they start fighting all this manner of creating this manner of drama with the law enforcement, it's not an ordinary Kenyan thing. It starts having a picture, creating a mindset that is not good to obey the law, it's not good to follow what the law says, and we start fighting the police. And we start doing this, we start seeing citizens of this nation, start even fighting the police when they are being arrested, start fighting people, defending the law enforcement, not because they wish them to have their language that they're seeing from the leaders. And I think that members of parliament and any other person, especially the elected people, they should refrain from that habit of trying to create an understanding of fighting the police, because that when we stop being responsible and we start creating and trying to portray police as a body that is not fair, a body that is not a body that does not act well, then people and the public start having that kind of thing that the police is doing this. That means the police as a force that is there to create and to be favorable to others, and that is not something that should be entertained in this nation. And I think the police should be spread in this, and the idea of police, the DCI, and the other law enforcement, which is
so that has been the guidelines. We have been discussing the guidelines that have been put there by the, which were read yesterday by the head of civil service, Joseph Kinyo, in regards to how politicians should conduct themselves going forward prior to the 2022 general elections. And I think a majority of our viewers agree with us that perhaps we need to put a caveat on how we engage our businesses in terms of political rallies, in terms of engagements, in terms of the sentiments that we post there out on our social media, so that we are able to protect this country from venturing into another chaotic situation like the one we witnessed in 2007, 2008. This has been the People's Court here on Punchline Africa TV, and this marks the end of the show. I'll take it back to the production team. Tomorrow, don't forget to join our morning shows beginning 10 a.m. East African time. Sean Wesonga from Nairobi.
Good afternoon, members of the Fourth Estate. The National Security Advisory Committee held a meeting today, 7th October 2020, to consider the current political activities in the... sorry. I'll begin again. Nitoa hii. Yeah. Thank you very much, members of the Fourth Estate. I can even hear my voice is better. The National Security Advisory Committee held a meeting today, the 7th of October 2020, to consider the current political activities in the country and their implications on national security. NSAC noted that the country is experiencing growing political tension that is creating division and pushing sections of politicians and their supporters against perceived opponents. This situation is increasingly polarizing the country along ethno-political lines and therefore undermining national cohesion, peace, and security, and derailing our transformative economic agenda. The unchecked utterances and political weaponization of public